Saudi Arabia has used cluster munitions supplied by the United States in its war against Yemen. That's according to a new report released by Human Rights Watch. The rights body says that videos, photographs, and other evidence collected from the ground indicate that the Saudi Air Force has used cluster bombs against villages in northern Yemen. This isn't the first time that U.S. and Saudi forces have used the deadly weapons in Yemen. In 2009, Saudi warplanes dropped cluster bombs on Houthi fighters in the province of Sa'da. The U.S. also fired cruise missiles containing cluster munitions against militants in the south. Cluster munitions spread bomblets over a wide area, posing long-term dangers to civilians. At least 91 countries are signatories to the Convention on Cluster Munitions. However, the U.S., Israel, and Saudi Arabia have refused to join the treaty. Andrei Vilcek is an investigative journalist joining us from Abu Dhabi to tell us what he thinks about this. Andrei Vilcek, this is quite a development coming. I would think that this should put this Saudi campaign against Yemen into a whole new level. The question is, how will the international community react to this now?
Well, international community is reacting in several different ways. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was actually very non-committal in Sri Lanka, where he was talking about the fact that Yemen is not going to be necessarily a collapsed state, but he didn't do anything, he didn't elaborate, he didn't offer any proposal, he didn't say how the United States is going to influence Saudi Arabia to stop this horrible bombing. In fact, the U.S. is behind this bombing, and this new development with the cluster bombs is very dangerous and it's very disturbing. We know that cluster bombs were used in several U.S.-led conflicts, particularly in Southeast Asia, where they were used during the bombing of Vietnam, of Cambodia, and Laos. The danger of these bombs is that they are actually, the particles of them can explode right away, but some of them are sitting there in the ground for years and decades, and they are killing civilians long after they are dropped on the country. Now, John Kerry was not the only person commenting on the situation. Ban Ki-moon was urging a humanitarian pause in the conflict. The UN is talking about imminent collapse of the infrastructure of Yemen. This is very dangerous and very brutal conflict, which is obviously now escalating and is putting tens of thousands of Yemeni civilians in danger.
Okay, and finally, quickly, we know that the U.S. has played a backseat role, as they like to call it, in this war. And they don't want to really even admit to that. But based on all the news headlines that are coming out on this particular topic, it's one thing for Saudi Arabia, for example, to use cluster munitions, but the fact that these are U.S.-supplied cluster munitions, doesn't that put the spotlight now on the U.S.? And you mentioned Ban Ki-moon. Shouldn't Ban Ki-moon be pressuring the U.S. not to supply these types of weapons to Saudi Arabia?
Yes, exactly. The U.S. is behind this conflict, and it's a much wider conflict than most of the international public is aware of. This is a war that is a testing of the weapons in Yemen by Saudis. It can lead to the conflict. There are basically some analysts are saying that Saudis are preparing for the conflict against Iran, against Syria. The U.S., of course, is involved. The entire Western alliance is involved. So it's very dangerous. Russia is trying to negotiate. Russia is offering several solutions. The negotiations, the deals, nobody in the West is taking Russia seriously. Of course, this is very dangerous.
Thank you very much. Investigative journalist Andrei Vilcek there from Abu Dhabi.